Hey folks, welcome to week 3 of Hacktoberfest with Aviyel. Today we have with us Jan Cizmar. He's the founder of Tolgee and he's here to share his insights on what Tolgee is, and I'll just give on the stage to him.
Thank you. I'm going to start sharing my screen again. Nice. So hopefully it's okay. Can you see it now? Just check. Okay, great. So hi all, I'm Jan Cizmar and I'm founder of Tolgee, which is an open source tool for software localization. And today is Hacktoberfest, so I'm going to show you how you can contribute into the project after some short demo of Tolgee. And yeah, hopefully we will have some fun today. So first of all, what's Tolgee? Tolgee is open source tool which is simplifying the web application localization process as much as possible. So what does it actually mean? You have some web application, you are a developer, you are working on your web application, and you don't want to waste time in localization. So Tolgee is tool which is like simplifying the most complicated parts of the process. So I'm just going to briefly show you now what's Tolgee and how it can help you. So Tolgee is a platform which you can access on app.tolgee.io, or you can self-host it. And in the platform, you store your localization strings. So if I'm going to enter the project, my application is called Lunch AI, which I'm going to show you in a minute. But in Tolgee, I have my localization strings, so I can edit the strings in the application. For example, there is an app name, so and this is how it's translated to English, German, and Czech language. Okay, so the platform is great because when translators come in here, they can also see screenshots from the application, so they know where the string actually is located in the application, and they can collaborate, like they can comment strings. When they are editing some string, when they are translating, they get some suggestions from machine translation providers, so they can, in some cases, when the translation from the provider is okay, they can just click and use it. Then they can save it, and it's okay. So that's briefly how the platform looks. I had a talk like 4 months ago for Aviyel, so there is a link for the talk. And if you would like to see some animated like intro to Tolgee, there is a link for that. I'm going to just send all the links now to the chat, so you can access it simply. And yeah, so you can watch the first video if you want to get some intro. Maybe it's also a little bit for like non-developers, so it's really briefly introduced. If you would like to like dive into using Tolgee, then you can watch the second video, which is my previous talk for Aviyel. I'm also going to show you now how you can use Tolgee as a developer on pretty short demo. So you've seen that I was using Tolgee for translating of app called Lunch AI. So now I'm going to show you how the application looks like. This is the application. It's pretty simple. There are just few strings, and it's nothing real. It's just demo application. It has one button. When I click the button, it tells me what I should eat today. Pretty simple. But in this simple application, I've got like few texts to translate. For example, this headline, this like sub headline maybe, and this button. And when I have Tolgee integrated into my application, I can just hit Alt key, which I'm doing now, and when I'm going with mouse like over the text, it's highlighting, so I can see which texts are translatable in the application, and I can click on that, and now I can change it directly in the application. This dialog is provided by Tolgee. It's called Tolgee UI, and directly in the application you are actually working on, you can change the strings. So now I added this like 3 dots, I hit update, and I directly see what happened. I also directly see it that it happened in the platform. So this way it's synchronized. It's in the development mode, the strings are directly sent and downloaded from the platform. So I have like single source of truth for the translations. What often happens when you are letting translators to translate your application is that the translators like translate the terms in the app differently, because sometimes they don't know what they are translating. They see just, for example, they see just this sentence, but they don't know where in the app is located. And often it produces like errors in the translations. And with Tolgee, you can simply generate screenshots. I hit this camera button, and when I have like Tolgee Chrome plugin installed, then it enables me to create screenshots from the app and send it to the platform. So by hitting this camera button, I can create or generate as many screenshots I want. It automatically highlights the string. So it's there, and now I can hit update. And if I open it in the application, then I can see all my 4 screenshots here. So translators can open the screenshots and know what they are actually translating, and they wouldn't produce errors in the translations. So that's like the killer features of Tolgee, that it actually removes these errors from the translating process, and then your application is translated perfectly. And you can also save time as a developer, because you don't have to like edit JSONs. You don't have to wait for like rebuild of your application. You don't have to refresh it or anything. It's just one click and it's there. Also, what you can do is that you can enable access to the platform to anybody in the internet, and they can provide their API key to application which is running and which is deployed in production. So they can just provide the API key, and then the production app is also editable. In production, you don't actually use the strings downloaded from the Tolgee platform, but you export the data using this export view, or you can do it via API in some pipeline on GitHub Actions or different CI/CD tool, and you provide the data into the build. So in production mode, you don't want your users to edit the strings. You want to provide static data, which is also faster and such. So that's basically it. That's basically what's Tolgee about. This is how it looks like from the development point of view. You just wrap. This is application written in React, by the way. So it's React code, and only thing I have to do is install Tolgee React package, which I have done in the package.json. So you can see I have Tolgee React installed. Then I'm wrapping my my app component here in main TSX with Tolgee provider when I provide some configuration. So I'm providing the URL where Tolgee runs. This is our cloud URL. If you self-host Tolgee, then the URL will be different. And you provide API key, which I have stored in this local development environment. I don't want to share my API key in the Git, so I'm storing it in environment which is in Git ignore. So I'm not going to push it to GitHub. That's what I should never do. Okay, so now when it's configured, I can add the strings in the app. So for example, if I would like to add another headline, then I'm going to use this T component, and there is a key name. So the key name is the identifier of the string in the app. So and this children of the component is the default value. I don't want to provide the default value, so I will just remove it, and I provide another key name. So I will call it, for example, new key cool or something. Now, when I'm going to go to the application, I can see that there is another headline, and I can click with Alt, and I can translate it. So I will provide string hello. I can directly create screenshot, and I can hit create. And like this, I just added the string, and it's also in the platform. So when I'm going to go to the platform, to translations, my new key cool is there. Okay, so that's how simply I can provide translations. And as a developer, I did nothing else than clicking it, translating it to my mother language, and the rest is done by the translators. I can, as a translator, then like automatically translate it via this, or I can enable automatic translation, but that's not important now. But that's simple. I can translate my application. But today we are here because it's Hacktoberfest, so I would like to show you how you can actually contribute to the project. So I showed you some small demo, but how you can actually contribute. There is blog post we published a few days ago, how you can contribute to any open source and to Tolgee specifically. So it's in the chat. Oh, I sent it to wrong chat. I wanted to send it. Okay, somebody sent it. Thank you. So it's the fourth link in the chat, so you can open the article and read it. It's very nice, but I'm going to go through a little bit also here. So first thing, how you can actually contribute to Tolgee is that you can improve the knowledge base. So the website I haven't shown you yet, but this is our website, and the website is also our documentation. The whole website is publicly editable, or you can modify it in Git. So basically, if you want to change something in the documentation, or if you want to provide something which wasn't specified, or to improve something, you can just go to the bottom of any site and hit this edit this page button, and it redirects you to GitHub, where you can actually change the documentation page. You can also publish any pull request to documentation. The documentation is made by Docusaurus, which is nice static site generator. So it just takes all the code here and generates static site from it. So it's pretty simple, and everything what's in the website is in the Git. So we don't do anything dynamic. So it's pretty easy to actually edit it, and you can edit any page. The documentation pages are markdown, so it's pretty simple. So that's the first way how you can contribute. Another way is that you can write articles. Thanks to Aviyel for all the articles they already wrote about us. That's great. But there are more topics you can actually cover. If you use Tolgee, it would be nice to write some reviews on our platform, or to compare it with other proprietary or open source tools which are there on the market. You can also write some more technical articles about, for example, how to use ICU message format with Tolgee, or how you can translate, or some stories of wrong translations on the internet. There is like a lot of cases what happens to companies when they translated something wrong, and sometimes it was pretty funny. For example, they had to leave some market in some country because they shared something which was totally wrong. So there are a lot of fun stories about that. You can write about how are you using Tolgee with some specific framework or specific technology. You can write about how the screenshots help actually translators to translate better, or why localization is important, or also, for example, why it's good idea to start with internet serialization early in the development process, because then it's hard to like translate all the strings or even find the strings in the application when it's not translated from beginning. So there are some ideas we came up with. If you would like to consult the topics, or you need some help with the writing or anything, there is a link for our community. It's already in the chat, so you can join our community and we can talk. And the same thing works for like code and other contributions. I will cover the code contributions later in this talk, but you can also translate. There are few open source tools already using Tolgee for translating, and you can help them with translating, or you can also translate Tolgee. If you join the Slack, you can ask us. We will give you access to Tolgee platform, and there you can translate all the strings of Tolgee. It would be pretty nice, and you can use Tolgee by that. So that would be cool, and you can also use it for your actual development of your applications, and then you can let us know, what do you think, what would you improve, and it would be also great. So that are the ways we would like you to contribute, and it would be pretty great. So now let me cover the code contributions, how you can actually run the project locally, and how you can debug it, and how the project is structured. So that's what's going to be the rest of the talk about. So let me start with the Tolgee organization profile on GitHub. All our code is public. So if you go to github.com/Tolgee, then you can find all our projects. And the most important one is this Tolgee platform. This Tolgee JS project is storing all the JS integrations we provide. So if you enter that, you can find that we have like React, Vue, or Svelte, or Angular integrations. And this project is not that interesting, because we are just rewriting the core library, which is used all by all the integrations. So if you would contribute to that, we would probably have to merge it with the new changes, and that would be like that would be complicated. So let's leave this project now. But what's more important, and more what I would like to talk today about, is the Tolgee platform project, where the code of the platform I showed you in the beginning, this one, the code of this application and backend of this application is stored. So in the platform, in the Tolgee platform repository, there's all the code of the platform and of the UI of the application. So if you would like to contribute by coding, there are some issues we already labeled for Hacktoberfest. So there is Hacktoberfest label, and you can find what you can do, or you can find something else if you are unhappy with something. And you can just create pull request, but it would be it would be better if you consult it. Then we probably would be more prepared for the pull request, and we will probably accept it then if it's already consulted with us. So how to actually run the project locally. So first of all, you have to clone it. I already prepared and opened the project in my IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition, which is editor made by JetBrains, and it works fine with Java and Kotlin. That's why I'm not opening it in VS Code or other editor, because that would be able to run a Kotlin code and Gradle tasks properly. So IntelliJ IDEA Community Edition is maybe also open source, but I'm not sure. And it's free to use, so you can use it as you wish, and you can download it for free. And this editor works pretty fine with Kotlin, which is the backend of this app written in. So let me first show you how to run the project. If you open the clone project in IDEA, it automatically detects that the project is managed by Gradle, which is a tool for building Java and Kotlin applications. So it automatically detects it, and it's gonna show this Gradle toolbar in the right side of the application. So now I can run this boot run task, and when it's gonna take some time, but in few seconds it's gonna start. It's gonna fail on something, but it's okay because Tolgee is automatically starting database. So if you would like to run it, you need to have Docker installed, and it automatically starts a Docker image, Docker container with the database. And when it starts, you can see that it's probably started now. It also creates some user, and now it's running. But I also need to run the front end. So the front end can be run by running npm run start, but I have to go. This is the root, and I have to go to the web app folder, and then in the web app folder, I have to start npm run start. Okay, so now it's going to take a few minutes, maybe a few minutes to compile. Then if you do some changes, it's much faster, but the first run takes some time. So in the meantime, I can show you how the project is structured. So basically, in the root of the code, there is backend folder, and there's also this web app folder. In the backend folder, there is the Kotlin code of the server. It's written in Spring Boot. So if you are familiar with Spring Boot, that's great because you already know everything. And the front end is written in React, TypeScript, and such. So it's the React ecosystem. And yeah, the backend folder, there are 4 modules. The testing module and the MISC modules are not important, but what's important is this app module and this data module. In this app module, there is everything which handles the application run, and there is also code which is executed when you hit some endpoint. So, for example, if I would like to get information about the project, I'm gonna go here to API.v2 package controllers, and I'm gonna find, for example, this projects controller, and this projects controller, there is get method, which is returning the project model. So it takes the data from database and present it to some. It's gonna prepare it for the. It's going to restructure the data and provide nice model of the project, which is going to be sent to the client. So for example, if I'm going to open the project page, it's going to ask about the project info, and this method is going to be hit by requesting the endpoint. So the front end is now running. So now I can show you in the browser. So it's running on port 3000 on localhost, and now I can see the application started. and there is no project, and there is like implicit user, which is created automatically when you have authentication disabled. Because when you provide no configuration, Tolgee platform is started without any authentication, and you can just you don't have to log in into that. It's running with this implicit user, so you can create project, and if you created project, then you can enter the project, and you can manage your translations as I showed you in the previous example. So now, if I would like to debug the backend actually, which is also possible, then I can add breakpoint on this line. And because it's written in Kotlin, the debugging works pretty well. I just have to run it in debugger, which I can do by right-clicking the boot run task in the Gradle toolbar, and I'm going to just hit debug Tolgee platform backend app boot run. And now it's asking me if it should stop the previous run because I'm running the same task again. So, okay, I want to stop it and rerun it. And now I'm going to wait for the run again, but it's going to be fast, I hope. So let's wait a few seconds. And now it's running. It started the application in 15 seconds. So I have my breakpoint here, and now if I'm going to go back to the browser, and I'm going to go to project dashboard, so the debugging works. So I'm braked on this line. So this way, I can actually find what each endpoint does and what methods are called, and I can go through all the code and find how it actually works. So that's basically what the app module does. It does more things, but this is the most important one. It also handles security and such. But if you would like to find out what's happening or how the application is structured, I would start with like examining these endpoints and these controllers, because this way everything is handled. Then, for example, the get method, which is returning the data about the project, is executing this get view method of project service, and this project service is located in the data module. So if I'm going to break it here and then hit this play button, I can get into the get view method of the service, and yeah, this way I can find out what's happening and what every endpoint does to the from the actual calling of the endpoint to the database and back. So that's enough, I guess, for the beginning. That's how you can find out what's happening. And on the front end, there is like similar part. If you would like to see what's happening in the front end, then there is this views folder in the src folder of the web app folder. Then in the views, I can find projects, for example, and then I can see that there is a project list view. And in the project list view, I can find what's happening when I open this, for example, this list of the projects. So I can guess how the component is named and find it in the views folder, and then find which components are used in the file. Or I can use these React DevTools, which is cool plugin to the browser, which shows me actually what components are currently rendered. So if I'm gonna go to the components, I can see that, for example, this list item or whatever is that, or this is some list. So I can see that in components, this list is rendered by this UI list component, list root component. And if I would like to find, I can search in that. So if I'm gonna put the project list view, I can find this whole part is rendered by the project list view component, which I showed like here. So that's it for the explanation of the front end and the back end. Through these views, you can find what's rendered, and you can like examine all the components in the views. So this way you can find out what's happening on the front end as well. If you would like to contribute and you don't know what's actually happening and you would need some help, then just ask us on Slack and we will help you with everything. The backend is also tested, so there is a lot of tests in the test folder. So we like to test everything. So every functionality on the backend is tested somehow, and almost every. And also the front end is tested via this Cypress test. So we are testing all the application end to end using Cypress. So you can run also these tests if you are changing something, and we would be happy if you contributed, then you test your functionality via these tests on backend and on front end. There is also wiki about how to run the project. So there is already a link sent to the chat, and it's the last one. So if I open it, then I'm going to get into development part of the wiki of Tolgee platform, and there you can read how to run the project locally. And you can use IDEA CE or IDEA Ultimate for the backend development. If you would like to contribute into the front-end development, then you would be happy probably with VS Code and such. So there is described everything about also how you can run the tests on backend, and also how you can run the E2E tests, which is not complicated. You just need to run 4 commands and it runs. But what's important is that sometimes you would like to provide some configuration options to Tolgee, because, for example, when it runs like that, like I showed you, then there is no authentication enabled. So there is just this implicit no out user. But if you would like to like self-host it for your company or something, then you would probably would like to start it with authentication, for example. And to enable it, you have to provide some configuration options. These configuration options are described in the documentation in the self-hosting section and configuration section in the Tolgee platform documentation. And for example, if I would like to enable the authentication, I can find the authentication section here. I can find its prefix by tolgee.authentication, and there is enabled property. And using that property, I can enable that. So there are also many ways how I can provide the configuration options, but for development, the best one is to create your own application /dev.yaml file, which is like file providing configuration options for specific profile. This one is called dev, so it's my local development options. And I already prepared this one. So I'm providing Tolgee authentication enabled true, and it's YAML, so the dots are like structured. And because Tolgee is initially run, when you run it with enabled authentication, it automatically generates password and stores it somewhere into file system. So we don't want to do that. We would like to provide a password, so we know that. So I added also this initial password configuration option. And now only thing I have to do is to run it with this newly created profile. So I'm going to go to this run debug configurations. And here I can set up my custom run configuration. So what I want to do is that I would like to provide some parameters to tell Spring that it should load this this new profile. So that's pretty simple. I can just copy paste the command which is provided here. So I'm just gonna copy it here, and I'm just gonna paste it. That's all. Now I have prepared this configuration, and now I can stop this previous run, and I can run this one with my specified profile. And now I'm gonna wait a few seconds again. I can also specify these configuration options via environmental properties. So that also works. But for development, it's cool that I can store it in the file and I don't have to provide it with every run, or I don't have to store it here in the configurations where I probably can provide it here. But that's what I don't want to do now. So this is also structured, so it just looks better. So when I'm gonna go to the application, when I reload it, I'm gonna be logged out, and now I can log in as admin, and I set the password to hello, and it doesn't work. So maybe, okay, it's strange. I don't know why this happens. So I'm gonna also provide initial username. It's called like that. Maybe this happens because there was already initial user created for the no out for the no out mode, and now we switch it to the out mode, and it the user is already there. So there we have initial username, initial password. So I'm gonna set the initial username admin.com and password hello, and I'm also gonna remove the database. So I'm gonna stop it. It automatically starts Tolgee Postgres container with Postgres DB. So I have to remove it to clean it, or I can clean it manually, but this is faster. So I can delete it, and now I can run it again, and hopefully now it's going to work, or it's going to be embarrassing. This failure just saying that the database doesn't exist and it has to be created. So it's trying to start already existing container of Tolgee Postgres, but if it doesn't exist, it creates new one. So that's what's happening here. So don't worry if you see this error. Now, hopefully, we would be able to log in into that. And we are not. Okay, so I don't know what's happening actually here. Oh, I see, because I forgot to structure this. So once again, and now it's gonna work. So this way you can configure the application. And what I also wanted to show you is what are the features we are working on currently and what we plan to integrate this and the next year. And you can find it in the roadmap on the website. So you can go to product roadmap, and here you can find what are all the features we would like to implement this and the next year. So what's interesting maybe for you guys, because you are all from open source communities, is these community translation features, because currently you can use Tolgee for community translations, but you have to give the users permissions to actually translate the strings. But there is nothing like pull request, or so you can go here to members section, and then you can okay okay, I don't know what's happening here. But normally you would go to the members section, and here you would be able to invite users and give them translate permissions, but you can't like restrict them to only suggest some new translations. So that's something you would be able to do if you used community translations. And also like cool features like batch operations, or like webhooks, so you can be notified when something happens in Tolgee. I actually don't know why the authentication doesn't work now. That's actually pretty strange, but I will look into that. Maybe I did something pretty wrong. But yeah, I think that's it for now. And yeah, thanks for your attention. I'm sorry it didn't work as I expected, but it just don't work. Strange. Okay, so thanks for attention. And now it's time for questions, actually.
Jan, we have a question on the ground, which is from Adam. Can you create customized workflows with Tolgee?
The question is, what do you mean by customized workflows? Because Tolgee has REST API, so you can actually like do whatever you want by calling the API endpoints. So you can basically do what you need yourself. So this way you can create any workflow you need. And there are actually users who are doing that.
Got it. Thanks, Jan. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for this insightful session.
Okay.
So we just want to ask, we're just very curious to ask about this. So what is the story of Tolgee? How did it start off? Like,
yeah.
What is the story?
Basically, I was working in some company like 5 or 7 years ago, and we had this struggle that most of the bugs in the software, when developers like submitted something, then the most common bug was that some string wasn't translated, and that happens because the translation and localization stuff was pretty boring for developers, and they did it like as the last thing. But you are in rush basically before deadlines, so you just forget to provide it. You just forget the translation, and then there are just missing strings. You've probably seen a lot of missing strings in the internet. If you are not native English speaker, then it happens even more. And that was pretty common issue. So we were thinking how to enable like other people from the team to translate, but it was complicated because the non-developers don't know how to actually translate, how to actually use the Git and other like versioning tools. They don't know how to work with the code, and this was issue. So they weren't actually able to edit the strings to edit the strings, and I was thinking how to provide them a way how to do that. And so I was thinking that the best option would be like enable people to actually change the strings directly in the application we provide. And that's what I actually did with Tolgee. So I started to write it for my master thesis like 3 years ago, I guess, maybe 2. And then it worked actually. So we started the company and we started to work on that project like for full time. And now we would like to also provide some like make it to be universal. So we would like to also make it able to translate all the software. So we would like to enable developers of all the frameworks and programming languages to use Tolgee for their software translation. So that's basically it.
Yeah, because localization is one of the key parts that everybody loses out in a dev workflow. Most people don't actually, think about it, but it always comes as a last moment thing that happens.
Yeah.
That was a great session, Jan. Everybody enjoyed it. We had a lot of listeners from the community. These are the contributors who write the articles and
Thanks
so on.
Thanks
a lot. So, yeah, thank you. So, I think we're about to wrap up the session. So, I just want to make an announcement. The week 2 submissions of Hacktoberfest is right now under review. You guys can actually start researching on topics and so on projects for week 3. And week 2 submissions will be reviewed and will be put out on the leaderboard by the end of week 3. Thank you so much, folks. We've been getting a lot of love for Hacktoberfest. Tolgee is one of the projects which has been collaborating with us for the event.
Thanks a lot.
Jan. Thanks for
coming. Have a great day.
Thank you, folks. Have a great day.